Hello everyone. Now we'll discuss round robin algorithm. So this round robin algorithm is one of the process scheduling algorithm, and it is similar to first come first served scheduling algorithm, wherein preemption is added to it. Okay, so that this system can is added to the first come first served, which enables the system to switch between processes. Okay, and for this round robin algorithm, a small unit of time is defined, that is called as time quantum, or it is also called as time slice. Okay, next the ready queue for this round robin algorithm is treated as a circular queue. So with this quantum size and ready queue, which is implemented as a circular queue, once this is considered, then the CPU scheduler goes around this ready queue, allocating CPU to each process for a time interval of up to one time quantum. Okay, and to implement this round robin scheduling, we keep the ready queue as a FIFO queue of the process. Okay, and the CPU scheduler picks the first process from the ready queue and then sets a timer to interrupt after one time quantum and dispatches the process. So this is how round robin algorithm works. Okay, with this background knowledge, consider this example where three processes are given, P1, P2, P3, and respective burst time is given 24, 3 and 3, and consider that all the process enters ready queue when t is equal to 0, and time quantum defined for this problem as 4. Okay, now we have to find out what is finish time of, what is the waiting time of all the processes and turnaround time for all the processes. Okay, first we'll start with the Gantt chart. So the first process in the ready queue is P1. So CPU scheduler first schedules this process P1 and execution starts from 0. Okay, and this P1 is preempted from the execution when t is equal to 4. Okay, because the quantum size defined here is 4. Okay, it is preempted, and next process in the list is assigned, in the ready queue is assigned for the execution. That means 4 plus 3 is 7, and again, and then P3 is scheduled for its execution, then P3 is assigned, it is executed for quantum size of 4, but its burst time is 3 is added to the 7, so it becomes 10. And next, again the left out process in the queue is only P1. Again P1 is assigned and it is executed for 4 units of time, again preempted, and again assigned for the execution, and runs for 4 units of time, again preempted, and runs for 4 units of time, again preempted, and assigns for execution, and runs for 4 units of time, and again preempted and assigned for execution. When t becomes 30, P1 completes its execution. So we can see you divide 24 by 4, so 4 6 are 24, right? So P1 takes 6 slots to complete its execution. 1 2 3 4 5 6. Okay, so in this way you can cross check. And now we're looking at this Gantt chart, we can find out what is the finish time of P1, that is 30. For P2 it is 7 and P3 it is 10. Okay, with this calculate what is waiting time. So waiting time formula I explained, I have given in the previous video, right? So waiting time can be calculated by following the formula. Waiting time is equal to finish time minus arrival time minus burst time. Okay, and turnaround time can be calculated by adding waiting time and burst time. Okay, so when we following this formula, the waiting time for P1 is 6, P2 is 4, P3 is 7, and turnaround time 30, 7 and 10 for P1, P2, P3 respectively. Okay, once we have this value, find out average waiting time. That is, when we add all this, it is 17 divided by number of processes is 3. 17 divided by 3 is 5.6 millisecond, and this average turnaround time 47 divided by 3, that comes to 15.6 millisecond. Okay, so with this knowledge, now we'll see the coding part. Before going to the coding part, we'll see the design of it. Okay, so steps to find the waiting time of all the process. First, what we'll do, we'll create an array, that is remaining burst time, to keep track remaining burst time of processes, and this array is copy of the actual burst time that is given initially. Okay, and next is create another array called waiting time to store waiting time of processes and initialize this to 0 initially. Okay, and also initialize time is equal to 0. Then keep traversing all the process that is there in the ready queue while all process are not done. Okay, so then follow this the code which is given here. Okay, if remaining burst time of a particular process is greater than quantum, then what happens? The remaining burst time, if it is greater than quantum, then increment the time by adding quantum to the time, and subtract the quantum from the remaining burst time of a particular process. And then if this condition fails, then what we have to do, that means the burst time of a particular process is lesser than the quantum, right? Then that will be the last cycle of particular process. Then increment the time with remaining burst time, find out the waiting time by subtracting burst time from the current time, and assign 0 to the remaining burst time. Okay, that means the process completes its execution. Once we have this waiting time, we can compute turnaround time by following formula waiting time plus burst time. Okay, this is the design part. Now we'll go to actual code of round robin. So we'll start with main program. Here, see, in this main program, 3 processes we have considered, and length is calculated, and n gives you the number of processes considered, and burst time is defined for all the process 10, 5, 8. And for this problem, I have considered 2 as a quantum size. So the problem we solved there, I have considered 4, whereas here I have considered 2. And we can change this value as well. So next is, we have to find out what is waiting time of each process and turnaround time for each process. So let's call this function find average time. Okay, and this function is called, where directly goes, the control goes to this function find average time. Okay, where the required variables are declared. Then we call the first function, that is find waiting time. So when this function is called, the control goes to the where it is defined. The control comes here. Okay, here first what we'll do, we'll make a copy of burst time to store remaining burst time. So that means the actual burst time, that is BT, is assigned to remaining BT, because as and when execution happens for a particular process, we have to decrement or reduce the burst time, right? So that's why we shall not make any changes to the copy of burst time that is given in the initial part of this code. Okay, next assign t is equal to 0 as current time, and then keep traversing process in the round robin manner until all of them are not done. Okay, so we have to keep traversing till we complete the execution of all the process. So to do this, while loop is considered, where boolean done is assigned to true initially, okay, then start traversing the process one by one repeatedly. For this for loop is considered. So then now if the burst time of a process is greater than 0, okay, then only we can continue with the further steps, right? So that is checked here. If the remaining burst time is greater than 0, then done is equal to false, right? So we have to complete the execution of that process. So there is a pending process. If that is so, then check the remaining burst time of the process with the quantum. If it is greater, then increment the time. Increment the time, which means what? We are executing that process. So increase the value of t shows how much time a process has been processed, okay. Once increment the time, we decrease the burst time of the current process by quantum. So how it is done? Remaining burst time minus equals quantum, okay. So with if condition fails, then else condition should be executed, right? What happens here? Increase the value of t shows how much time our process has been processed. That is t is equal to t plus remaining burst time. See, if this condition fails, then only control will come to else part. Remaining burst time is greater than quantum, then these lines executed. If remaining burst time is lesser than quantum, then that will be the last cycle of that process, isn't it? So increment time by t plus remaining burst time, and then find out waiting time by subtracting burst time from the current time, okay. Then once we have the waiting time of that process, at last we are assigning 0 to remaining burst time, okay. And this is calculated for all the process till the process completes its execution. So if all the processes are done, then if done is equal to true, then break. Once we have this, we can calculate, see this function returns value, and then next comes find turnaround time function. When this function is considered called, then control go to this particular function where we are going to calculate turnaround time by adding burst time with the waiting time which we calculated in the previous function. It returns the value to this function, then print it out, okay, and then calculate total waiting time and total turnaround time by adding this and print it out, okay. At last find out what is average total waiting time and average turnaround time, okay. Divide this total waiting time by n and total turnaround time by n, and n is nothing but the number of processes that we have considered here. And you can see here typecasting is used. If the value after dividing, if decimal values come, then we have to typecast it. So initially we have declared total wait and total turnaround time as int, okay. Once we divide it, we make it a decimal value. That's why we are typecasting it, okay. Yeah, that's all. Thank you.